Should I? Yeah.
Wait, 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah, then we go.
No, I prepare a small talk. Is it okay?
Absolutely, absolutely.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we have like after Gabi speaks, would you like to break into conversation in between, or would you like? I think we should do that. Like uh, it's only we are in the room, so if you have anything to say, add, reflect, and then move on to the next person, as long as we are within the time. Is it okay, Christian?
I'm fine with that.
You'd prefer that, right?
I prefer that somebody will speak and then me myself, then like that. I prefer
Yes.
that.
Yes. Okay. We'll go for that.
Four more minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being present for Auroville Convivial Live, the third day. Today we have with us Gabi Gillessen, Christian Follett, and Mamta Dash with us. Thank you so much for your presence, Gabi, Christian, and Mamta Di, on this very special week for us Aurovillians. It is grateful that all of you have been together, and we hope to be able to not only listen to each other but also contribute to very pleasure to have Gabi, Christian, and Mamtadi with us today evening. Without further delay, I would like to introduce three of you to our audience and then move to Gabi for her talk. So, Gabi Gillessen is the chairperson and senior tutor of the Irish Yoga Association and the founder of Route to Light Yoga Space. She served as president of the European Union of Yoga 2014 to 2020 and currently teaches yoga and mindfulness in community mental health for the HSC. Since 2007, Gabi has led numerous yoga intensives in Auroville, and 2021 was appointed the International Advisory Council of the Auroville Foundation. Her teaching and practice spans clinical, social, and international contexts. Welcome, Gabi. Gabi is going to speak of her experience of being in Auroville and her reflections as a member of International Advisory Council. Then we have with us Mamta Dash. Mamta Dash is an acclaimed Oriya author, poet, and translator. She has published 11 poetry collections, 7 short story collections, 1 novel, 14 books from Bengali and English, including Adventure of Consciousness, The Mother's Agenda, 2 volumes, India and the Mother, Veda and Human Destiny, and, and Mother's Chronicles, 2 volumes. She has conducted extensive research and received a senior fellowship from the Government of India's Department of Culture. Her literary contributions explore spirituality, human consciousness, and the inner life of individuals and communities. And then we have Christian Follett with us. Christian is the had been the chairman of the board of Auroville International Canada, and he is lovingly known as Pragna in Auroville, and is a long-time Aurobindo and Mother follower and a devotee, acting actively in the development of Montreal Sri Aurobindo Center from 1970 to 1992, and then AVI Canada. He is also the former chairman of the board of Auroville International, serving from 2020 to 2024. A leading figure in Auroville largest community, he facilitates the global network support for the township development. Christian is a vocal advocate for spiritual governance, frequently writing on the necessity of manifesting the spirit of fraternity amidst Auroville ongoing transitions and urban expansion challenges. Welcome, all three. Now I pass on my microphone to Gabi. Please proceed with your talk. Thank you all. Thank you very much for being.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I accepted to do this, but from a very, very personal level. I'm not here as a philosopher or a great lecturer or anything. This is going to be very
Gabi, can you
personal.
have a moment of silence? I think there is an audio dropout. You'll have to start.
Ready?
Some problem in sound.
I think we should all switch off our microphones. Christian, also, please switch off your. Gabi, please speak something.
Can you hear me now? No? Yeah, I'm on. Is it from my side or is it from your side? I can't hear you now because you're on mute.
Yeah, it appears to be from your side. The audio is.
I can hear you guys
Should we
clearly.
switch off our videos as well?
Please rejoin and cancel the job.
Can you rejoin again, Gabi, once?
I can. Let's just do
Yeah.
this. Switch off and rejoin.
Yes.
Super. So do you want me to continue?
If you can start from the beginning.
Super. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. These are my personal reflections as a member of the IAC. I'm not here as a philosopher or a lecturer. I'm simply sharing my own views on my relationship to Auroville and as my experience on the International Advisory Council. Just like to give you all a little background to who I am, where I came from. I was and was very privileged to travel extensively through Southern Africa and Europe from a very early age. And because of the difficult political situation in South Africa, my family moved to Ireland in the 1980s. And I guess maybe because of a lot of this travel, I never really set down roots, deep enough roots anywhere. And I think in a way, this gave me a sense, because I wasn't tied to a particular culture or confined to a particular place, it made this vision of a universal town where men and women of all countries were able to live much easier for me to conceive. A place simply focused on global perspective of humanity. As a child, I had a few psychic or spiritual experiences that I can still very vividly recall. And think this aspect was again reaffirmed when I began my yoga studies. I qualified as a yoga teacher with the Irish Yoga Association in 1997 and have since tutored on 7 teacher training courses. But just to put that into context, the teacher training courses that the Irish Yoga Association run, they're 4 years in duration, and they consist of almost 800 hours, contact hours. And the course is accredited by the European Union of Yoga, which was founded in 1971. So it's quite an extensive course, and I think it needs to be put into context, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of shorter courses available. In 2002, I think it was, I attended a yoga intensive in Auroville with Sama Fabian. And that was my first experience of Auroville. And to be perfectly honest, it left me with more questions. I didn't have that immediate aha experience in Auroville, but it definitely stimulated my curiosity. And I returned for another intensive, I think 2 years later, in 2004. In 2007 or 8, I brought my first group of yoga practitioners to Auroville and continued to do so every year, every second year until 2019. These group trips included early morning practices, followed by deeper explorations of Auroville, its structure, its vision, its intention, its aspirations. We visited units, the villages around Auroville, etc. So it was a real in-depth immersion into life in Auroville. This really fed my curiosity and also deepened my understanding, and my roots and relationship with Auroville grew. Group trips were often followed by me and my family traveling through southern India. And it became like an annual calendar event that I felt I was plugged in and my batteries were recharged for the year to come. In Auroville, it was really inspiring for me and for the groups to see people expressing their spiritual aspirations in so many different ways, through art, through music, through therapy, enterprise, the environment. And I really experienced Auroville as a place where the spiritual was foremost, and where that spiritual was given the freedom to materialize. A place of higher aspirational vibration. And unfortunately then COVID hit in 2020, and my trips to Auroville came to a very abrupt halt. I had booked a group and then I postponed it, and then after postponing 2 or 3 times, I just made that very difficult decision to discontinue, because travel was so many restrictions, it became cumbersome. But again, really interesting, because the moment I made that decision to cancel the group trips to Auroville, that very same week I was elected to be part of the International Advisory Council. And I just took that as a sign that I still had some purpose to fulfill in or for Auroville. Excuse me. So my time with the IAC started, and It took a little while longer than I was comfortable with for the IAC members to get to know each other, to share their personal experiences of Auroville, and in particular to agree the role and purpose of the IAC. It also seemed to me in the beginning that the secretary and the governing board had a very different understanding of what the IAC's role is compared to my understanding, my reading of the Foundation Act. So I'm just going to quote from the Foundation Act. The IAC is there to advise the governing board on any matter relating to the development and management of Auroville. So to be an outside view and to give opinions and advice, whether they acted on or not is immaterial, but that was part of our role. And also to secure that the ideals for which Auroville has been established were encouraged, and the residents of Auroville were allowed the freedom to grow and develop activities and institutions for the fulfillment of the aspirations and programs envisaged in the Charter of Auroville. So to encourage, to allow freedom and growth and development. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the narrative that the IAC members were continuously fed, and the tones of the meetings really were focused solely on the negative. What was not working in Auroville, what was wrong, what needed to change. I feel that looking at the progress that had been made, the positive, the things that were working, were never highlighted or considered as a potential building block on which to move forward. Seemed like there was this attitude, we need to rescue Auroville from something. So in my experience as a yoga tutor, this can never be a working model for change. Change or transformation can't be enforced from the outside. A plaster doesn't heal a wound. External change is not transformation. It can only come from within. So it has to be, in my opinion, an inside-out process, not an outside-in process. So I'd just like to share maybe so that you can understand where I'm coming from with with my experience of tutoring. On the teacher training course, on the Irish Yoga Association teacher training course, I'm just going to use 4 points from the ethos, from our statement of ethos. At number 1, the focus is on the knowledge, skill, and attitude to teach yoga. And I think attitude there is really important, especially in light of what I said. You come in with a certain attitude, an attitude of support, encouragement, to increase awareness so that yoga can become a practical way of life rather than a practice to induce states of mind that temporarily ease unwanted states of mind. So again, it's that transformation from inside out. Yeah, you can't just say, okay, yoga is going to make me feel good, so every time I feel bad, I'm going to do yoga. That's not yoga. Yoga is, transforming that discomfort. So rather than producing teachers who through training have the ability to perform functions, the aim is really to and excuse me, I can't speak Latin, but the root of education, educare, to draw out from within, to use insight and reason. And this encourages the unveiling of consciousness for the benefit of the individual, the group, and for society. And to me, even though I'm talking about an Irish Yoga Association teacher training course, to me that is yoga, whether it's in Auroville or whether it's here in Ireland. And I do believe that is very much in line with Mother's vision. An inspiration for unending education, life transforming, lifelong journey. So I think the change that people felt Auroville needed was very much misplaced in execution. Instead of encouraging change from within, from a starting point of a positive attitude, inclusive of the community through dialogue and communication, I really feel that change was simply demanded, sometimes without justification, without consultation. I unfortunately feel the collective experience was ignored, and a top-down enforcement led to new parameters that were implemented through fear. I won't use too many adjectives there, but just to name a few very small examples, and I'm not going to go into them, but media shutdown, withholding visas, leaving India notices, maintenance cuts, etc. Those are just some examples of what I feel was this enforcement rather than a blossoming from an allowing of a blossoming from inside to happen. The IAC members frequently attempted to communicate, to offer advice in meetings, by email and letters, trying to highlight that for authentic change to happen, it needed to include the whole community. Unfortunately, I'm going to say almost never received any responses. And I feel that our advice was never really taken into consideration. We consistently highlighted the need for dialogue, communication, but again, we felt mostly unheard and felt like our words were falling on deaf ears. Sometimes it felt like we were taking one step forward and 4 back. So sometimes I personally was very frustrated as a member of the IAC, but a friend then said to me, or pointed out, and she said, maybe your role on the IAC is simply to witness what is happening, what is unfolding, what is taking place. And I very much had to keep that in the forefront of my mind very often, that I was witnessing something. The quote that was often made to us was that people had to be willing servitors in Auroville, but it felt to me like the emphasis was on servitor rather than the willingness, to be ready, eager, prepared, which I feel people, definitely friends and associates that I had met in Auroville, were obviously willing because they were there and had been, many of them, there for more of their lives than outside of Auroville. So to me, the willingness was there, but surely willingness to be included in this change that was envisaged, not excluded, to move forward as a community and as an expression of human unity. I firmly believe that Auroville has a very important universal purpose, and that India is the unique environment for this experiment to play out. But Mother's vision, I think, of creating a space, or this particular space, needs to be nourished and supported, nurtured and supported, not pushed into a narrow tunnel. Sorry for not thinking of a better word. Because it's my opinion really that yoga is that which opens and expands possibility. Yoga does not narrow, doesn't constrict. I'm only going to be a few more minutes, I'm sorry. So Mother had this vision of a town or a city like no other that would bridge the past and future. And I said this many times, but this city or town is not confined to bricks and mortar. It was a vision of a collective achieving something, and in my opinion, transforming the way decisions are made, how a collective can function in a unique way, how voices could be heard and expressed and melded together. And I know there is again that narrative that this is what the world needs right now. And yes, it does, because I think people have outgrown the bad judgments of governments and hierarchies. But people are still people. We still care about our families, want to develop our spiritual aspects in ourselves, etc. So I think people all over the world are still the same. It's governments maybe that need to transform as well. But the results of Auroville as an experiment, allow a possibility of becoming an embodied example of future self-determined governance. What could that look like? And I think that's, again, one of the important aspects of Auroville and why it's so necessary. To finish off, I suppose I find parallels again in my experience in education on the yoga teacher training course. Each training course presents with different people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different capabilities or capacities. And it's not our role to clone each student. Each student doesn't get a manual and say, here, this is how you do it, go and do it, and come and show us that you can do it. We really aim to allow them a unique experience or understanding, to allow their own voice to be expressed and to express their innermost selves with authenticity and confidence. And that little safe teacher training course group then becomes a part of a bigger Irish Yoga Association organization, and then the European Union. So I know it's a simple example, but for me, that is an expression as well of human unity through a common goal or a common purpose. So that, in a nutshell, I'm afraid, is a bit about me, where I come from, what I do, and my experience on the International Advisory Council. So I welcome any questions or thoughts that that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabi. Christian and Mamtadi, if you have any questions or reflections on what Gabi just reflected on the current scenario,
Yeah,
and please.
yes. Yes, you know, I was a yoga teacher too, so I can understand what you say about yoga. In yoga, to the, it comes from inside, the spirituality comes from inside, and we need a safe space and also a space of liberty. So I agree with you at this point. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, Christian. And I feel you made a really good point, because safe space is what is really necessary. And again, when we start a new teacher training course, that's the utmost focus in the beginning, is creating a safe space where people feel supported and free enough to show themselves or reveal themselves to themselves. And I maybe I didn't say this. If I did, I apologize for repeating myself, but I really think it was a missed opportunity. Yeah, I think it was a missed opportunity to bring Auroville to a new place. Thank you.
I want to know, as you are teaching yoga, and we know about the transformation of these cells, how mother was trying the last stage of his life, about transforming and mutating her cells to be to create the supermanhood. And you are teaching yoga. How do you think that yoga helps in that transformation of cells, or to bring consciousness to the cells so that they can aspire to be immortal, or anything what Superman, supermental person or being will have after transformation? How yoga helps them? Does it help to make aware the cells about the divinity within them?
Definitely my experience does not go that far. So, but I did the awareness through the body training in Auroville numerous times as well. And sorry, I'm just going to stretch my legs out. It's the model that yoga has of the koshas, for example, the physical body is the gross aspect of the deeper, subtler in spiritual within. So we don't see the physical body as different to the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical is one. They are simply subtler or grosser, depending on which way you go, aspects of the same thing. So attention comes in the physical form, attention comes in the energetic form, or the vital, we can develop attention. And for many people, attention of the physical is easier than the attention of the deeper spiritual. Not always, but many times. But I suppose, and again, I'm saying I don't have any experience of transforming my own cells into consciousness, but it is to see the consciousness through all those layers, and that consciousness inhabits all those aspects of ourselves, and through whichever medium you can reach that consciousness yourself, that's the aim, isn't it? At the end of the day, whether it's the physical, emotional, mental, vital, spiritual, because they are all the same. I hope that answers your question, Mamta. You're muted.
I understood, yeah.
Thank
I
you.
understood that physical consciousness will be surely definitely be aware with the practice of yoga. You mean that the practice of yoga will have some effect on physicality too for the transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, the willingness to do that or go on that journey is required to begin with. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So should we go with Mamtadi now?
Please.
Mamtadi, can we go with your presentation?
Hello, good evening, everybody. I am Mamta Das, and now my talk will be far more different than everybody because I am not an Aurovillian or have not stayed long for in Auroville. All my everything I will tell for my inward experiences, only what I understood. But if somebody outsider asks me a question, what is Auroville? What I understood by observing, by reading, all that I will tell today. That will be the sorry for that. But I have to do that because I am not an Aurovillian or not worked here directly. That's a different thing to be directly involved in all these things. I am not directly involved. So let
But
us.
we
I
do not
want
see
to.
ourselves because we are into it. So we need
Yeah.
some distance at
So
times to
I
remind
am.
us.
I am just trying to invoke Mother and Sri Aurobindo to this place and then tell my experience about how I understood Auroville. So let us gather in a quiet joy, in gratitude and luminous presence of Sri Aurobindo and Mother, not as a memory of the past, but as a living forces shaping the future. Today we aspire not only to remember, but to awaken ourselves. Will you mind that if I play some organ music for 1 minute of mother music? And in that spirit of aspiration, let us invoke of the divine light through Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri. Tatsaviturvarenyam Tatsaviturvaram Rupam Jyotihi Parasya Dhimahi Yanno Shatyena Deepayet Yanno Shatyena Deepayet. We meditate on the supreme light of the divine. May that light illumine our consciousness with the truth. That is Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri. I invoked it because I have to create the space for the silence and what I have understood about Auroville. And for our prayer and meditation also, the context of the talk of this is the prayer and meditation. O Lord, awaken in us the will to serve thy work upon earth. Make us ready for the new consciousness that seeks to manifest. May we be worthy collaborators in the path of the future. When such aspiration awakens in human heart, it seeks expression in the life upon earth. That aspiration took a concrete form in the vision of Auroville. On 1st February 1972, Mother wrote, Auroville is intended to hasten the advent of the supramental reality upon earth, the help of all those who feel that the world is not what it ought to be is welcome. Each one must know whether he wants to serve the old world on the verge of death or to work for the new and better world ready to be born. This as mother told about Auroville, and that is people who are listening to my talk, they know that this is the condition to be in the Auroville. So, then another prayer, Supreme Lord, teach us to be silent, that in this silence we may receive thy force and understand that way. Thank you. I may now move into the today's reflection. The beginning I told you that I am not an Aurovillian. I have not stayed for long in Auroville. Long back, I stayed in a guest house for one night or one day. And in Bhutan onshore once, I stayed for 2 days. And recently also, one day, we stayed with my friends in one day in Auroville. And before that, for 13 years, I was in Pondicherry. For 13 years from 1998 to 2011. At that time also, frequently, I was often visiting the Foundation Day of Auroville. And of course, concentrate on matrimony, I was going at that time. This is my exposure to Auroville. And after my husband passed away in 2009, after 2 years, I have to go back to my state, Odisha, and off and down, yearly twice, I am coming here and also visiting Mathur Mandir, Auroville, whenever I find the opportunity. But the feeling, whenever at that period of time, and now also when I just enter the visitor center or Mathur Mandir, I feel something so intense and vibration of absolute aloneness. I feel I am alone. Nothing is there. Even I sometimes feel I am not there at all. I feel something, the essence, maybe I call it soul or not, or some spark, something eternal, something makes you carried out to another world you are not aware of. That is Auroville for me. I was till now. I am with this vibration I get from Auroville whenever I entered. In spite of the brief stay also, it is enough, to brief stay also enough to feel that something is being attempted here which doesn't belong to the past. Past we know many, I have, I have gone to many pilgrimages, I have met many saints, I have met to many ashrams, but whatever is attempted here, it doesn't belong to the past. That I realized whenever I enter Auroville. And I'm following Mother and Shivananda when I was 15 years old only, what a child. Before that, I have acquainted myself with Buddha, Christ, Swami Yogananda, Raman Maharshi, Ramakrishna, Paramahansa, Swami Vivekananda, everything I have read. But that didn't appeal to me because knew that to know the divine, to attain the divine, you have to forgo the world. You have to go. You have to reject the world. That I understood from Indian spirituality of the old traditional spirituality. You have to get nirvana, or you have to go to liberation or moksha. So what to do? You have to reject this world. You have to forget everything. That didn't appeal to me because I was a poet. From the beginning, from 9 years, I was writing, I was singing, I loved art, I loved people, I loved the creation, I loved the flowers, the plants, the manifestation I loved. So how? I have to leave everything to attain the divinity. It is something strange for me. Then why this manifestation? Why we are here if you have to leave everything, if no the divine? So this question was burning within me. And when I was 15 years old, I got a book somehow from somebody. That is mother's message. Got, yeah. Another, I am attempting from my phone. So, whatever there, huh? So after that, I came to know that mother is different. She's not a saint or goddess or anything. She's something different from other spirituality. So I was attracted. I wrote a letter to them. I got mother's photo, mother's books, and I knew about mother and child love. And I even at that time I thought that I will come to ashram and stay, which I was not allowed because I was so small. Life went on like that. After some times, I got married. Then I lost my first child. My faith was shattered. I thought mother is nothing. She didn't help me in my cry. She shocked. What is she? Then my faith shattered. I lost my faith. Everything gone. Everything gone.
Oh,
Like that, still then after that I resumed my faith. I have to give tests. It is my internal journey with spirituality. And after that, when in what period of time something I thought that something is lacking again. What is lacking? Why I am feeling suffocated? What is this mother? Is she a saint? Is she a goddess? Is she a religious teacher? No. She is something more. What does she teach? At that time, I got adventure of consciousness of Supreme and I got agenda. By her grace, I read them and I knew that this yoga, this vision of mother is so different that I have to go on the way differently. And that period of time, I tried to connect with Supreme and got permission to translate Adventure to Odia, and then agenda to Odia, two volumes of agenda I translated to Odia, and the India the Mother, India's Rebirth, everything I translated to Odia, and it was a great experience to be with agenda and know that what is mother's attitude towards her vision, what is she wants to do, everything I knew from agenda. And at that time, while translating agenda, I was coming to Auroville, Auropress, and acquainted with some friends of Auroville at that time. Then I know that Auroville is something different, not a calm, serene place. It is a test, it is an inner test. To enter Auroville, you have to be mother state. Enter Auroville, you have to have superhuman effort. You have to super. Auroville challenges us silently, not by perfection, but by effort. Auroville was not, I know that now. Now I realize what I realize. Auroville was not created as a settlement. It was conceived as an answer to the division that have wounded humanity of centuries. Nation against nation, religion against religion, ego against ego. When people from many countries brought soil from other lands and placed in the urn, it was not mere a symbolism, it was a declaration that the earth is one, humanity is one. At a time when the world tightens its borders, Oroville quietly attempts to live without them. What wound of the world does Oroville address? We live a time of fragmentation. Everything is being hardening. We are about possessiveness over land and belief, development without consciousness, knowledge without wisdom. Or I will ask simple but a difficult question. Can human being live together without the usual foundation of religion, not as an idea or ideal, but as a daily life? This is the question or we ask to everybody. But now let us be honest. Auroville is not free from problems of the world. In fact, he attracts them. There are ego classes, administrative struggles, idealism meeting practical difficulty, cultural misunderstandings, and always the danger that the original vision may be reduced. The original vision may be reduced to management, politics, comfort. This is a constant test. Yet, despite all this, people from various nations continue to live together here. Experiment in education, sustainability, architecture, agriculture, that's yoga, everything, all community life, it is all continuing. And the Matrimandir. Matrimandir starts at the center, not as a monument, but as a reminder. And I know that new generation are still arriving, not drawn by comfort, not as escape, but by aspiration. The very fact that the experiment continues after decades is itself a sign that Auroville is a living truth, is a burning truth. It is manifesting with more and more force each moment. Why does Auroville now matter to the future of the planet? People ask. Because now the nation state is reaching its limits. Climate doesn't stop at the borders. War doesn't stop at the borders. Migration doesn't stop at the borders. Everything spreading in the whole world. Something happens somewhere and it spreads the whole world. So we are all affected. And Auroville asks quietly, what if humanity learned to organize itself around consciousness rather than nationality? Can it happen? It can happen because Mother Anshlarina has told that evolution has not been complete. The mother said Auroville is the cradle of supermanhood. She didn't mean that an extraordinary person one day will appear as a superman. It won't be like that. Or evolution never proceeds through miracles. It unfolds through the birth of a new consciousness, just as just as humanity emerged from the animal world carrying the power of the mind. Like that, Sri Aurobindo envisioned that our greater consciousness, the supermental consciousness, will must emerge beyond the mental plane and one person cannot embody such a change. That's why Mother founded Auroville. Auroville, not merely a township, it is the living laboratory of human unity. It is made ready with aspiration, protection. It is like a cradle. When the baby is being to born, then we prepare a cradle for it. Like that, in that condition, Auroville is being prepared for the cradle of supermanhood. Mother has told that if but the cradle is not a physical place of Auroville only, it is within our consciousness. Whenever we rise above our ego, whenever we rise above our division, a sense of division, every time we feel sincerity instead of ego, at that time we participate in the process of evolution, in the process of creating the Auroville and progressing, helping Auroville to progress. This township of supermanhood, therefore, both outer and inner. It is outer, Auroville is there in an outer symbolic township, but everybody were connected with Mother and Sri Aurobindo also. Prepare a cradle within us to bring the new consciousness to this earth. That is our responsibility. Um, and Auroville, it is a very small place, I know. Some 3,500 people are there, but still Auroville holds the last question to the earth. And perhaps this is the most important thing. Auroville doesn't claim to have succeeded. Yeah, it doesn't say that it has succeeded. Nobody can say that it has been totally successful because there are still problems. We attract problems or we attract from many places. It claims only that the experiment must continue because if humanity is to move forward, then somewhere on earth there must be a place where the future is attempted and before it is understood. Mother suggested that someday, I don't know, remember the quotation perfectly, but she has suggested that if our Auroville lives truly to the spirit of the unity, it can have the strong enough, get a force strong enough to counter, prevent world war. And that we have to remember that it is our responsibility to be united in such sincerity, and to be truth to the vision of Auroville. Then the whole world will be benefited because of human unity, and you can prevent a world war which is now going in every country, every nation is after the division, after dividing the whole world. But that will be averted if really some people will try to be united in the sincere term. Mother Haman, Mother and Sherwin has told, and Mother has in the last phase of Agenda 12 and 13, when Auroville was being created. I have read it many times. How hard vision, what dream she has about, how tirelessly she was thinking how the Auroville will be made. Now she there. So this is I have this experience is I have not told anything from my data or anything from being in Auroville. It is I understood inside me. This is my experience. This is my experience. This is my realization. This is my perception of Auroville that Auroville is true. And people say that Auroville might not succeed, but I believe. As I believe and love Mother and Shervinda from the core of my heart, from the core of my soul, I also believe in Auroville. I trust that Auroville will happen, and everybody, you are all there, and everybody is trying, and I am also trying whatever I can. So this is my yes, this only I have to tell whether I am adequate or I don't know. But this is my experience about Auroville. I have understood Auroville like this, and I aspire that it will go on till it is city of dawn. It will realize the possibilities of the morning, the luminous reality of the morning, because Mother has called it city of dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamtadi. Thank you so much. Christian and Gabi, if you would like to add to this beautiful hope that she has on us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I can say, well, 2 days ago there was a darshan, and we visited the mother's room. And first time I visited this room was in 1970. I was 23 years old. And I can tell you it is the same vibration, the same presence up to now. So we have to remember that the divine consciousness, divine mother is always here in all of it. And this feeling we can have also in the Notre Dame. Thank you.
It,
And I wanted to, sorry, I just
tell
wanted to
me, yeah.
say thank you very much for, um, yeah, reminding us of that despite everything, um, it will continue, it will survive because that was the vision and still is the vision. So thank you for that reminder. It was very beautiful.
What is the question? I repeat, please. I can't hear. You please. Can you repeat it?
I
Um,
didn't have a question. I
I
just
and your accent is not clear to me. What is you can tell me? I am asking. I am requesting the Auroville person. What is the question?
Gabi is saying that Auroville will continue, and the way you have, she's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
presenting her gratitude for you to remind us of the role that we have and the Auroville that we have to discover within ourselves beyond this external physical Auroville. And the way you said it, that every time we do it within ourselves, we participate in making of that Auroville. And that is the
Okay,
task,
okay,
be in Auroville or outside.
okay.
We know that Auroville
Very
exists.
much. Actually, when I hear this, tears comes to my eyes because I'm sincerely involved that here something is being done and you are all participating in this great work outwardly, suffering and going through the suffering of being in Auroville. And I know I am just outsider. Comfortably, I'm staying in some house and comfortably I'm doing something inwardly, but outwardly, somebody being involved in Auroville work. It is really great. I admire every people who are in Auroville and doing their work. So it is really difficult. It is really difficult to. I've heard of some foreigners, they have come from far out places, leaving their comfort, leaving everything with that is great. We are comfortable. But 2 days, 3 days when I live in Auroville, I think, oh, it is so difficult to say, I can't get tea in time, I can't sleep in time. There was no current power that day, oh, no power, how can I sleep? All this comfort, still we are outside, we are telling things. Inside I feel, but walk in the field is really difficult, and I admire every Aurovillian, every outside even street service there. They are doing something. They are going through much suffering than us, and they are I think they are the dear children of mother. We are not.
Yeah.
We are also comfortable here. It's not as bad as the world, as we know. We are comfortable, and at times we forget in the comfort of being here the thing that you just reminded. That maybe the people who preceded us did such a fantastic work to make this place green, incredible, comfortable, that it is a shining bright. The streets right now in this climate, in the month of February, while we are sitting indoor and talking, the light on the green, what you call, walkways are beautiful. And, yeah, it is a place of magic and wonder. It is a place of where discoveries happen while we walk the street, where we look at each other and we look at each other's work. We have with us Monica, who is also an Aurovilian, who has joined. Thank you, Mamta. Thank you for this extremely heartfelt and extremely emotional, in fact, uh, uh, reminding of. As we within Auroville, it's almost like fish in the water. We don't get to see the experiment from outside, and we often forget, and we get carried away. And obviously, our body has the memories of our wounds, which reflect in many which ways, which we inflict on each other daily here. And we hope that in the light of the Mother and Aurobindo, and through your constant reminding, we will uh, be able to walk and make this path ever more beautiful than it was. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying it because I'm here. Christian, please kind of help me. Monica, please, please. You just came in. Christian, please say some word. I'm at loss.
Well, I just wanted to thank you very much for welcoming me. I'm happy to be here.
We can hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Monica.
Okay, so as I was saying, thank you very much for welcoming me. I'm happy to be joining you. I'm very curious to hear what's happening here. And yeah, I thank you for passing the word to Christian. Is there something that you wish to add?
Thank you, Montadi. I think we should now pass on to Christian. Christian, can you just briefly introduce yourself, and then you can please proceed with your reflections.
Okay. Vanakkam, bonjour, namaste, good afternoon. My name is Christian Fayette, also known as Magda, my Indian name given by Chamber Club. I am chairman of Auroville International Canada board and former chairman of the board of Auroville International. I'm a long-time Sri Aurobindo and Mother's follower and devotee, having met the mother in 1970 when I was 23. I was acting actively in the development of the Montreal Children's Center up to 1992 and then in AVA, Canada. We all know that Auroville is a laboratory whose purpose is to create human unity. What is a laboratory? It is a place where experiments and manipulations are carried out, sometimes successful, sometimes unsuccessful. And this has always been the case since the beginning of Auroville, which has developed through a series of crises. The most memorable being the opposition of the Aurovillians to the takeover by the Shuribindo Society, which led to the Auroville Foundation Act of the Indian Parliament in 1988. From then, during 3 decades, Auroville has experienced a kind of direct democracy, with the Residents' Assembly assuming a leading role and the Governing Board and the Secretary's Office playing a rather discreet role. There have been some wonderful achievements during this period, marked by the completion of the Matrimondir, as well as interesting and creative housing and many various projects, which have established an international reputation for Auroville. But there were critics too, because some good projects have been blocked by opposition from small groups, sometimes by a single individual. Other projects have been completed, but with great difficulty, including administrative issues such as Kalpana, a beautiful complex of around 45 apartments surrounding a green and lush park, one of the most magnificent in Auroville, just a few steps away from the Solar Kitchen. For a system of direct democracy function well, it requires discipline and responsibility. But human nature being what it is, discipline and responsibility have sometimes been lacking, leading to some laxity, inequality, and a certain degree of favoritism. Some critics also argued that all these personal initiatives were carried out without an overall vision, in a somewhat anarchic manner, and sometimes in contradiction with the city's master plan. Some also expressed the opinion that this approach was far too slow, tedious, and inefficient for the project to build effectively a city. That is how, 4 years ago, another experience came about with the nomination by the Indian government of a new secretary and a new governing board based on a vertical and quite authoritarian system of governance, in sharp contrast to the experience of direct democracy of previous decades. One is entitled to think that this new experience was certainly made inevitable, and also that Mother allowed this to happen. Also, this new approach must also be viewed in the global context, the mondial context, where several governments of the world have recently drawn attention for their imperial style of governance. This is how we now have roads in Auroville, Crown Road and Radial roads nearing completion, built sometimes in a quite rude and opaque manner, but this would not have been possible under the previous management system. So yes, the imperial system can be efficient, but it can hardly focus on more than one issue at a time. We have had funds for new roads, but since 4 years, not a penny for new housing projects. Also, while it is good to have finances in order to fight corruption, to have clear guidelines, and to ensure that everyone follows the guidelines, we must bear in mind that too much control kills creativity, creates also disorder, and often leads to administrative harassment and the rule of the arbitrary. Today, we can see that certain authoritarian governments around the world have lost completely their way or their compass. And instead of establishing the promised order, are only bringing chaos to the societies they govern. Maybe you recognize some governments like that in the world. If we see all the books Chairperson has written, the principle of personal freedom is omnipresent. Liberty of thinking, of speech, of expression, of association too. If a ruler has the ambition to control the minds, the actions, and the words of the citizens, this cannot result in a healthy and vibrant community. We all know that Auroville is a work in progress. The city will, of course, experience other forms of governance in the future. Nothing is permanent here in this world. The actual situation is the result of the errors of the past, and the future will be shaped by the failures of the present situation. As long as the divine consciousness has not been realized, embodied in individuals and in the community, I think Auroville will evolve through trial and error, one after another. Although it is important to build a city, let us remember what Roger himself, as the project's chief architect, said. It is more important to build people than buildings. And Mother too insisted that the journey is more valuable than the destination, and that building a city is not an end in itself. You know, life is made up of a series of experiences that help us grow. Nothing is lost. Every life is lived. Every life has its own value, enriching the soul from life to life. What matters are the laboratories experiences lived by the community of Auroville during the process of realization, during the progress of Auroville. That is the soul of the city. A beautiful window display without a soul is of no interest to either humanity or the divine. But there is no point in lamenting. We must keep faith that Auroville is protected by divine consciousness and know that Mother Smile is always there when she tells us, as she told the first pioneers, leave everything behind, embark on the great adventure, and come what may. Adding also that victory is for the most enduring, the most persevering. That is why at Auroville International Canada, we focus to cooperate in helping the units and services that provide concrete support in the areas of food, housing, health, education, etc. To the Aurovilians, through these units and services, Aurovilians who are the true warriors of light, who are those who are staying with perseverance and resilience in difficult conditions on the sacred land of Auroville, where everything is at stake, played out for the future of humanity. And for the rest, let us keep faith in divine grace, which always has surprises in reserve for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much again for reminding us, and also, sorry, I think, thank you, Christian, for reminding us our role and also instilling the faith and the courage that we need right now to be able to, not right now, we will need it throughout. Thank you so much. My Mamta Di Gabi, if you have something to respond to or to ask each other, how are we and how are you?
You. I I knew much from your talk. How you are managing and your abstract also. I have read that you have written that victory goes to them who are most enduring. So while working in Auroville, and you have to always practice endurance, or it sometimes go on fresh or smoothly, or every time you have to remind yourself that I have to be enduring, and you are facing so much crisis also, must be facing many crises in what you are doing, what I read from your biodata. So whatever you're doing is very difficult work. So when you are facing them, do you remember always mother, or on your own strength? What is the sustenance to work in the orbit, this all kind of fraternity and all? What is your sustenance, mother's, or surrender to everything to mother, or appeal yourself to a conscious strength or anything? What is your sustenance? How you face the difficulties if you are going on through all these things while working in Auroville? I mean, only surrender or your own strength is required also.
The question is to Christian or to me or to Monica. Christian, how do you get the strength, Christian? Monica, how do you navigate difficult situations in Auroville. This my way out was to try to do this. Nothing convivial about such an online convivial. That is what I keep devising things which I think might kind of help us get rid of the physical resistance that we have, or the scare of each other, of meeting in person and figuring out oneself as a suspect. Can we have other spaces also where we can come and meet? Mine is this play that I'm doing right now. So, Christian, please, how do you manage the turmoil, as the Mamtadi asks?
What is the question?
Mamta, they asked that how do you find strength? Do you find the strength in mother's words, or in your within own self, or what exactly gives you the courage to the difficult work of manifesting Auroville, or being in Auroville itself, that you are have undertaken?
You know, I'm a devoted mother, and so what, whatever difficulty, whatever things I have in front of me, I offer to mother, and I let also mother act.
Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate the pace and clarity with which you spoke, and something that really stayed with me was your comment about, or well, your quote about how it's really about the journey, not just the destination. And to address Mamta's question, for myself, one of the biggest anchor points for me in my way of navigating my life in Auroville, especially in moments of difficulty, is the dream. Coming back to this dream, which is the dream of the mother, and the dream that I myself consider to find in my own heart, this is something that is particularly helpful for me in times of struggle. Is there anyone who
Yeah,
has
Yeah.
any other
We,
comment?
Gabi.
we are in the process, and all the difficulties we encounter belongs to this process. So it, it's not helpful to close the eyes and to remain silent. Uh, it, the Auroville is a cauldron where there is many things happening. So we have to keep um, from behind the the safe, the calm, the same safe space that mother is offering to us, you know? and and take a certain distance. I know it is difficult for the people who are living 12 months a year here. I'm living only 2 months a year, so it's more, maybe it's more easy for me. But we always have to keep a certain distance, and to know that nothing is permanent. We live in a world of impermanence, so all the difficulties will pass. And as I told, by divine grace, it it is possible that difficulties pass faster than we think. We have to keep faith in the mother's direction.
Thank you, Christian. Like Mamtadi spoke about, the safe space is the cradle that of superhumanity. we have to know that we are in charge of the cradle, to keep the cradle, not just for ourselves sitting and going off sleep on that cradle, but we have to cradle the cradle as we are sitting here. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you so much, Mamtadi. Thank you so much, Gabi, for being with us and reminding us, and for your light, for the reflection that you, through your words of Mother and Aurobindo, that you brought to this program. And I hope through these videos, we will reach out to many, and we can continue doing such talks and other moments also. Uh, Thank you so much for your presence.
Eh,
Thank you so
and
much.
thank you, and thank you to you to have given us this
You
opportunity.
to invite me here. I'm awed inviting me here and to speak something from my heart. I'm really grateful to you all.
No, Amtad, it is very important. Like we are in the aquarium, from within inside, it's very difficult to look at us. That's we need to look out for those who are otherwise have known and read the vision through other lenses. We are like a fish in the water. If we are taken out of the water, we can't like see what is going on inside. For those of you who are take care of this project, have been keeping the project in mind, and are some way kind of cradling this cradle, while we brats being severely punished for being kind of inconsistent, insincere, and all that. And we hope in our level best to be able to keep up not only to our hopes, but all the hopes of all those who are not in Auroville, who are looking up at us. Thank you so much, Mahapati. Thank you so much, Gabi. Thank you,
Thank you.
Christian, for being there. Thank you, Monica, for your presence, and to everyone. So, with this, shall we close the program? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.